lovely.
I'm sure it does. Well, I'm sure you look good.
Yeah, we all do.
All right.
Might be a coincidence, but it's postable. I'll do it.
Let me share the screen or share the window. I think this is it here. Share. All right, there we go. And let me make this a little bit bigger. 125%. Sorry, I'm going to get rid of some of these here. Okay, so welcome everyone to the October 19th iteration of the MicroProfile live Hangout. And a link to the, did anyone paste a link in? I see a chat here. Yes, I did. Thank you, Amelia. Link to the chat is in the meeting, link to the meeting minutes is in the chat. Please click on the link, add yourself to the list of meeting attendees. It is everyone's shared responsibility to take notes. Excuse me. And let's see, the chat and the video will be uploaded to the YouTube channel after the meeting. Okay, so I did watch virtually all, if not all, of last week's live Hangout. And it looks like, I think, the point where we left off was the community outreach. I think that's where we wanted to continue the discussion. There are some comments in slides 3 through 6. Maybe we hold off on those and just keep going. And then maybe we can go back and revisit the comments once we're kind of done.
John, for slides 5 and 6, I added comments about deletion. We have imported them into the GitHub. Like we said, Tatiana and I will take care of it. So they can be already there. Do you see? They can be deleted. Yeah. From it, so that solved those comments. And yeah, let's go. I did add a goal for 2022 that I would like for us to consider, and I think it's important to talk about it in depth, but maybe we do it afterwards. It's up to the microprofilers here to see if it's worth starting with it.
Okay, and I think going down to one of our other ones, it's Chandra, Kevin, and Emerson. I don't think Chandra's on. Kevin's not on. So Emerson, this is if you want to maybe lead this part of the discussion about where you think we are related to the bulleted list, and then we can all kind of chit chat about it. So take it away.
Sure. Let me see. Continue. Yeah, I mean, most of the efforts in this line I was collaborating was about the translation. So I don't see anything there, and I know this program plan is going to be a candidate for translation really soon. So I wonder if we can add that element in the list, and I will take care of that as well. Anything related with translation to Spanish at least. And there were people helping us with Russian and I think something else, but I don't remember. But basically that localization.
So one thing I kind of noticed a little bit, and again, I apologize I couldn't make last week's call. I don't know if I kind of like goals that basically say continue doing what we've been doing, because it's just been, to me, it's really it's standard operating procedure, I guess. It doesn't really convey a whole lot based on how we already do things. So I don't know what you guys think about maybe removing this one because it's already a part of our processes.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a kind of our practice already. The other thing, sorry.
Go ahead, Emily.
So the other thing I would like to add is basically this community outreach. Basically, from my understanding, this is we should reach out to JAGs, to conferences, and to promote MicroProfile. But I don't see where it says that.
Okay, before we go there, is everyone okay if I delete this first bullet?
I mean, it's twofold. On one side, I fully agree with you. On the other hand, I mean, this is a super important principle that
Yes.
it's perhaps important enough to keep it to remind us.
I was going to say the same. At first, I said no longer needed. And then the conversation last week transformed that thought into we actually do need it because we're doing so well. It's part of the core and it's part of the charter. We must keep it.
I don't mind keeping it. Like, for example, you know, one of the things that there have been a few things that we've discussed in various communities as like part of our ethos that just completely disappear over time and no one notices. It just happens.
Okay. All right. So we'll keep that one.
What about making that most explicit about the different calls we have in the technical call and the communical call and minimum number of calls per mono, something like that, was splitting out in the two different lines, just to make the emphasis we are going that way now. That is a little different than last year.
At the program level, we try to stay away from specifics because the specifics may change, right? So today it's Google Group, maybe tomorrow it's some different mailing list implementation, right? So I understand where you're coming from, but at the program level, we try and keep things pretty high level.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, so Emily, sorry, already forgot. You were bringing up another point, I think, about jugs and more specific outreach.
Yeah, so I think for the goal for me is kind of something we want to expand. Basically, is not like let's continue to do what we are doing. So it's basically we should reach out to JAGs and to conferences, etc., to promote. So outreach. So that's kind of our goal.
Okay.
Isn't that a part of the marketing slides that we are taking away from this area? And I think it's 5 and 6. No, I cannot.
We deleted them.
Oh, okay. That's it. Emily, really good call out. Do we need it here? I think it's part of the two marketing outreach, but if we want to add them here, that's a good idea as well.
Well, I think it depends, right? So if we're talking about evangelizing, getting people to use MicroProfile, then it's a marketing. But if we're talking about getting people to participate in creating MicroProfile, more people like Edwin and Emerson and everybody else around the table, then that's a different goal, right? It's not necessarily, I mean, that's a different goal than getting people to use MicroProfile.
Is it related though? You go to JAGs and talk about it, and some people maybe use it, some people maybe come to MicroProfile to contribute. So basically, it's get the voice heard, so people will take different actions.
I think it's related. I think though you definitely have to have explicit goals about how you're going to get people to participate if you want them to participate, because it doesn't just magically happen.
I think at the moment I see kind of we really need people to spend the time. It's not like spend time to work on the technical areas. So that's kind of the one thing I see we need to focus on. So getting more people, basically attending meeting is one thing, but basically we need people to do things.
Yep, agree. So do we have thoughts on how we can get them to be involved at that level? And that can involve jugs too as well.
If we're talking about the first goal, that is for us to reach out to jugs, or are we talking about enabling the jocks to become contributors to MicroProfile, because I'm still thinking the two topics are not the same, but related. Which one are we talking about?
We more talk about, I think is a reach out to JAG is a kind of activity, but our end goal is getting people to contribute.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, and Emily was right in her first sentence, in the sense that we first need to sort of present to people, get them to understand what MicroProfile is, and then teach them, like, okay, if you have an itch, you can scratch it here because we are open. And then reaching out to them or to JAGs to say, okay, now we do education sessions or we do joint hacking sessions. That, I think, is a second step. But the first step is really telling people, like, hey, you can do something here, that this is where it's good, and then you can do something with it. And we embrace that.
Heiko, good point. And the JCP, we have created Java and education in the project plan in a repo. I will share via the community forum the link of the work done in that group and how we are enabling different JAG leaders globally to teach Java. You know, we are providing the elements and the tools for those leaders to go to high schools and universities and do that work. I believe the MicroProfile, we're almost in the complete phase, because there's always an improvement. And the next call is going to be next Tuesday. I believe that we can duplicate some of that work that we have done since the last year, because that is part of enabling others to, not us having to do the task, we can do that as well, but bringing them beside us. I always say this, but enable them to own it. And I'm extremely excited to show this. It's not completed. The next call is going to be on Tuesday next week at 8:30, but I'm extremely proud of that work that the community has done on that side with JAG leaders. We meet, now is once a month, and we continue to create a documentation. We asked those ones that are using Java to provide the testimonials on how it has helped them, and all of it is documented by the doers. And Heiko, I think this will be great. Cesar, go ahead, you have your hand.
Yes, that was gonna be my comment. If how much specific do we want to be? Because thinking and how we are gonna measure in order to improve year to year, I don't know. We wanna go into a little more specific. How many, as was already mentioned, how many, not just session, how many hackathons, or how many, you know, how many blog posts were produced based on a session. Try to correlate and try to find where are the key points that maybe for the next year we can even get more focus into those specific actions that we know are driving more the community into the project.
So I was wondering, does the sentence proactively reach out that John probably wrote while we're talking? How much the DevOps for Kids, they have these recipes for the individual workshops that are open source. So how much should we have a goal here of create information material for the JAGs, or an initial set that they can also then improve, like the DevOps for Kids material, and give back, so that for the next round of JAG enablement, there is even more material or workshops or initial sessions on do things with MicroProfile, but also contributing back.
Heiko, really good point. We know there are workshops for MicroProfile in Portuguese, in French, in German. We can pull in those MicroProfilers that they work on other technologies as well, and they are public. They are using public GitHub, and we can bring all that information into the Git issue. Like, because of the work with the JCP, this is what we're doing, what pulling in what others are doing, in addition of creating 2 presentations ourselves. Already Ryan helped us create an amazing slides with everything for MicroProfile that is under the marketing branding page in the website. So we started and we're populating, we call it the support of MicroProfilers, right? We have that. And I believe that we should definitely look into this, make it very generic here, and then create a program plan on this side. they will populate the Git issue, the Git pages, is what I call it, so that PRs will be submitted and we will have a fluent program.
Yeah, and really connect when people have that on their own repos, really collect that in a central place for reuse.
Yeah, I like the idea of promoting other workshops that people have created, but let's be aware that this does touch on the realm of implementation, right? At some point, workshops imply that someone's going to have to, use an implementation, and so we just have to be careful that we are maintaining implementation independence.
Yes.
Right? But linking to things that other people have done, right? They're going to be using implementations, and let's just be aware of that.
Yeah. Like if we give a talk at a jug about how to use MicroProfile, obviously we'll be using Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have a workshop that we developed and that we give once in a while. And if we do that type of thing as part of our community outreach goals, it's not going to be neutral, right? By definition.
Cesar, go ahead.
Would we consider that to be a goal checked off?
Good question. And I think Cesar's hand is getting really tired.
Oh,
no, sorry, I forgot to lower the hand. Sorry.
So David, you're good. But this is the exact point, right? At Red Hat, we have people that go off and do workshops, and we can, link to that content, but it's going to be specific to either, Wildfly, EAP, or Quarkus, right? And go on down the list. Emily's got, and IBM have some for Open Liberty. And that might be part of the thing is, by pointing to these things that use all kinds of implementations, that could be a strength in and of itself. But we just have to be, aware of what's going on, and that we don't have 40 workshops from one company and 2 from another, right? And none from a third. We just need to be conscious of this.
Yeah. So
and that kind of gets back to my question, how does that dovetail into people contributing, right? Because we don't have any workshops on contributing.
We don't have any workshops. You mean on a workshop on how to contribute to MicroProfile? Sorry.
Right. We were talking about the workshops we have and how to use MicroProfile, and I was just, kind of saying, yes, it's important to teach people how to use MicroProfile because, hey, because you can't just walk into a room and say, hey, people, you've never heard about MicroProfile, but you want to contribute. So I totally understand, people need to be taught about it before they might be interested in contributing. But
yeah,
we definitely do need some material or something to get people to contribute because it is different material.
Now, that is something that if we want to, as a MicroProfile community, we can create. Because it doesn't really dig into it is specific knowledge that we have that we would want to transfer.
Yeah.
Ed, hold for me a second. Ed,
sorry, Emily was trying to talk a couple times.
Sorry about this, but Ed wanted to talk first. I think he went on mute. Ed, do you want to say anything?
Me or somebody?
You went on mute, so I wanted to make sure that there is room for you to speak.
Edwin, I think is here.
No, I wasn't trying to say anything. So I think some misunderstanding.
Floor is yours, Emily.
Okay, thank you. I nearly forgot what I'm going to say. Anyway, so what I'm going to say is, I think this is think back to what I said is the kind of we need to get some more people contribute to MicroProfile. I think this is a tie back to our end goal. So I quite like what you suggested, David. I think is we need a kind of workshop to see, okay, this area we really need people to help out. So it's so that people know, okay, when they come to this community, they know where to look for things, to-do list and etc. I think this is the kind of area we should focus on and also improve our technologies.
Okay, so just a little bit of a timeout here. In some ways, this is turning into a brainstorming session, which, but between this week and next week, by next week, I kind of want to have this done and ready. So now, Heiko, you did have your hand up. If you want to maybe get your thought out and then
so
figure out what the next step is.
So we did in the IJAC, we did that 4 weeks ago or so, a workshop for first-time contributors to MicroProfile, Jakarta, and Adoptium. And we were lucky that for MicroProfile, we had 2 easy ones to fix. One's a broken link to a README in metrics, another trivial one. But what Emily said, we need to start labeling stuff with first timers and not have that by the usual suspects done immediately, because it is so easy. And then we can probably, I mean, there's a lot of material already there that we followed, but have that a little bit polished. I think that's doable, but it's really important to have these issues for first timers. And even if it's only fixing a README. So
then do we agree to add a bullet to be very generic so that we can do that kind of work? Like John said, we're too long into this, but definitely let's add, we need to delete bullet number 2. The first time participating page has been created and we have now announcements. We have had announcements for a while, so we don't need that anymore. In there, we can add what we have discussed. I think everyone here is under the +1 to create, this is part of the outreach goals, to enable the community to learn how to participate and contribute to MicroProfile program plan, or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I mean, we could write. Go ahead, John.
Well, yeah, I was just going to try and put these under 2 bullets because they're related. Sorry, under a single bullet because they're related. One is educate people on how to participate in the community, I guess, right? It could be this call, and it could be what Emily mentioned about, or sorry, whoever it was. Heiko mentioned about the broken links, right? Fixing that and getting into like more real hands-on work. So that's one. And the other one, I don't know if it's still valid. I mean, that's part of the discussion, but.
Yeah, the other one, I was just going to say language, kind of going off about what Heiko said. And some of what Emily said is maybe we could just simply say something along the lines of establish ways to identify good, contribution opportunities for first-time contributors. So like not specifically solution it as in like, we're going to use this label, but say that we want to make ways to identify, to help new contributors identify what are good first tasks. My language is not so fantastic on it. It's very mouthy, very wordy, but
yeah, well, the details of what we want to do to encourage for community adoption, I'd kind of like to not put that in the program plan.
Yeah, I'm trying to come up with a language where that detail isn't there, right? So we just want to establish ways or create ways to identify, good tasks for first-time contributors. So it doesn't have to be a workshop. It doesn't have to be a label. We're not going to give the specifics. We're just going to say it's a goal to reach people who want to, do their first contribution.
We can use social media. That will be for later. We can use social media.
Or just specifically, we want to work together to find ways to highlight what are good first contributions. What tasks are good for first contribution.
We'd like for us to also pay attention to what Cesar said, KPIs. I would like for us to add community outreach.
Well, let's decide if we like the goal before we move on to other potential good goals. Because if we don't write it down.
Yeah, I think it's a good goal to have. The other thing is, in addition to the first time contribution, the other thing is, since we are looking at metrics, open tracing, anybody who has this kind of interest or have knowledge, and then they can like join in. So this is another kind of thing we should advertise, is what is our roadmap, and then so that people can join the different groups.
Does that tie into what I have highlighted?
Oh yeah.
So we
Yeah.
need to, I think, continue to do this, right?
We already are doing it, and now we need to continue.
So
We
I think
need-
the first, oh, sorry about that.
Sorry, go ahead, David.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think the first bullet is good. We just, necessarily don't have it, need to have it be about a workshop specifically. That could be one of the
Okay.
ways that we do it.
How about this? To encourage, to facilitate.
If Vince was here, he will love the word content. He will use it and insert it. I'm just thinking that's one of the coolest things about him and the priorities.
Yeah, content or approaches. Because like a label on an item isn't necessarily content. Like just Heiko, you had a good suggestion about putting labels on issues that are first contributions. But it's not
that is
necessarily
specific.
content. It's like an approach. But anyway, that covers it.
Okay.
Does everyone feel like their thoughts are represented?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just maybe create new or adopt existing content, because you're not going to create existing content, but it's just a minor, things.
As a third bullet here, can we add KPIs? Definitely +1 on Cesar's, making sure that we track the improvements, on this to see, right, adaptability and the level of these JAGs are using the workshop example or this approach, and now they have had, their members have increased by doing so 10%, 20%. Clearly the communication will have to be there, but I think saying something on the KPIs are necessary to quarterly KPIs are necessary to see the progress and the need for adjustments. We need to be accountable to whatever we do to proactively increase the participation. And without KPIs, we cannot do so. We would be blind. That's my feedback on for a +1 on the third bullet point under increased community participation. Thanks to Cesar, reminder.
I think tracking our progress is good. You mentioned something in your description about, jugs getting better, getting more members. That's not a goal for me. I'm concerned about getting more people in MicroProfile itself. So I wouldn't be interested in tracking.
It's an example. You're correct. It's an example of what I'm saying. When they benefit, we benefit because we are likely to get more contributors, but we have never tracked it, right? We should be tracking it.
I think if I said something like, did you know that in 2021 we got 12 new contributors, I would be making up the number, right? So it would be nice to know if we're getting any, not if, but really how many new contributors we're getting each year at the end of the year, to be able to say we saw this many new this many first-time contributions from people.
How do we write that as a third bullet?
Well, I put down define and track metrics on community outreach.
Yeah. I think that's
Why
good.
did you
Great.
why did you delete the reach out to Jack to promote MicroProfile?
It's too specific.
Well, it is specific, but it's a specifically targeted group subset of the market. right? So
maybe we should say reach out to the wider community to promote a micro profile if you think is too specific. But I think is one problem with these goals. We make it very general, and at the end of the day, and next year when we come back, oh, what we are talking about, we don't know.
I don't have a problem with the goal personally.
Then it
with
is
this one here.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it excludes users. It excludes.
But I do think it needs to say to promote microprofile contribution, to be honest. If it's not,
And not usage.
you can also promote usage, but if it's not going to promote contribution, I don't think it belongs on this slide. It should go on the marketing slide.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's where you're going. Well, we already have that, I think, down here.
Yeah,
And
we
I think
do
it would be double dipping on kind of the same thing.
with
So I'd be
your
okay with removing that. Others?
+1.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, next bullet, surveys and easy to use questionnaires and forms that can be used to gather input.
We already done that. It's almost complete. So we don't need it. Or do
So
we say
nothing new
maintain
we
it?
want to find out in 2022?
Yeah, Edwin, do we keep it here and see how well we do? We have already created this, so we need to adjust it into, see if it works. How do we?
Yeah,
prove-
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Created the infrastructure. Now we have to make it happen and see what it brings us. So I think we should leave the bullet here, that we are really going to become active with it.
Do we adjust it though? Because here it says service and easy to use questionnaires and forms can be used to gather inputs. That is too vague and we need to adjust it. Service and questionnaire, service will be used to gather inputs. Needs to be follow up with something else. It seems like it's too vague.
Such as? Example?
MicroProfile will be fed information directly from the working group, from the community, through service, or something like this. We need to say that we're going to import the direct feedback from the community through services, to survey, Monkey, and Twitter polls and things like this. It doesn't need to be specific, but the idea is to pull in constantly the direct feedback from the community via these tools.
Empower the community by providing service and easy to use questionnaires. More
That's better.
concrete.
Is this not covered by open communications?
No, that is not covered. Communications is like this. That one is much more of a 180. We send something and we get something, but it's linear, right? And then we implement whatever we believe that is valuable to improve MicroProfile, right? It's not
I think maybe add a bullet point on the first one, because this is so detailed. Is fall into the similar category.
Yeah, and I guess I just have the same feedback as before. If it's not going to result in contributions, then it's a marketing goal.
Let's move it to marketing and adjust it. Edwin, think about, because you're going to be one of the core users of the tool, of a sentence that will, say, we're gathering information as a 180 and make it short. I mean, I think you're the best equipped to own that.
can we move to marketing first, and then I will add an action to myself to rephrase it if I can come up with something.
Yeah, sounds great. Let's move it to marketing. Agreed. And John, thank you so much for being amazing at this. Kevin did a really good job last week as well. I called him John. Can you
He
believe
puts
it?
me to shame. You kidding me? Yeah, and thanks. I mean, I know Kevin's not on right now, but thanks to Kevin for leading this last week. It was easy. It was easy to follow when I watched the recording. So
He did a good job.
okay, so central location for promoting blogs, videos, and products.
Website.
Same.
This should be going to the website slide, not here.
Well, does that mean we put it under infrastructure?
Is
I mean,
this,
basically, I actually think you're right in that really the website links off to other content like the YouTube channel. We've got, well, Twitter isn't really a site per se, right? But we promote things via Twitter. I don't know, I'm open.
We promote things to Hootsuite. It's Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, not only just Twitter. So we need to be careful on that one, John. Let's move this into infra then. I said websites, websites, but if you think others need to voice on this, I'm into website.
is this not owned by marketing?
That's
So
what I would've-
Yeah, I think so.
Also, but the thing is that the website has its own slide. Like,
Sure.
but I think the infra is more like, okay, how to improve the look and feel, like how to infrastructure, like we use Cloudflare and etc. And but normally when we create pages and etc., that being done by marketing.
Okay, so let me do this here. I'll put it here since Edwin is.
I think I'm like, because Ryan is pretty much like we use Git issues for anything adjustments on the website. We'll definitely not like to pull in Ryan via comments and tell us where this should belong. Is it website or is it marketing or infra?
So let me ask a question here with the line, the bullet point before and this one. So the bullet point before, it's probably Red Hat telling like, hey, Wildfly XYZ is MicroProfile compatible, which is sort of vendor stuff. While the next one that we just pasted is about, hey, I've solved this clever problem by using MicroProfile in this technical way. Do we want to have this stand next to each other? Are we sure that community, so the any programmers aren't offended by vendors pitching their super duper product?
Well, they are super duper. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, no, but I guess you know what I mean. So if we are afraid that this could repel contributors, then it should not live together. And if we say, hey, it's a super service for both contributors, but also vendors and others, that this content is in one place, then we should leave it here.
I think, sorry.
Yeah, well, so one thing I wanted, I'm trying to wrap my arms around this, about what this means, right? When we say central location, yes, I do think this is a marketing activity, as opposed to a community outreach. But when we say central location, like the website is a central location, right? We have our own blogs, we have YouTube for videos and stuff. But is this intended to aggregate what's other people are doing, or is this intended to be what we're doing? It sounds like it's more what the community is doing. And then I kind of wonder, boy, a website's awfully static. And unless you can figure out some way to, someone's got to do the aggregating, right? And updating and stuff like that. Now, I kind of want to stay away from that if we can.
Yeah, there's curating involved.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I was looking for.
With curating involved, Tommy Tribe has created a PR for the Jakarta website and many PRs, right? And we already completed the work on the announcements page that was used in Jakarta EE 9.1 release. It's finally live after 8 months of tackling it and going through the approval. We can bring that code into the website and make it so that information is added via PRs. In blogs now we'll just go through merge.
I definitely have to disagree with you. So technically that's not possible. What was built over there on the Jakarta side of the fence wouldn't be able to be used on the MicroProfile side of the fence because MicroProfile is using WordPress, not Hugo. So PR is not how you update the website.
Yes,
PR is what you file when you want somebody else to go into WordPress and type something.
Yeah, I think I add my own perspective for this one. So I don't have any problem promote different MicroProfile implementations. I think that's a win-win situation. It's a kind of from end user, I say, oh, how well MicroProfile is, and then they go onto this website, they saw nothing whatsoever. There's no implementation, so oh, that's kind of rubbish. And then if they saw so many different blogs and to like promote different implementations, so and then they can see so many use cases and etc. That's kind of in return they will get to know MicroProfile more. I think we use promote a blog at the moment. We raise the kind of we create a WordPress press. Either we add a link to other blogs or we create our own blog. But from my perspective, and when I talk to others, I think they value these blogs. They feel like this active community.
But Emily, I'm a little bit lost with the comments. Can you maybe make it concise? I really got lost there.
Well, and here's the thing, like, you know, we're 45 minutes in, we're still kind of on one slide. I still think we're a little bit in brainstorming mode. And I don't really want to turn this into a brainstorming call per se, just because, you know, at the current rate, we're going to have 7 more meetings, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out how to manage this.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to get better at describing the outcome we want and leave the solutions to, you know, separate throughout the year. I mean, like the whole year can be about providing the solution.
So for example, with this bullet, which is a very good point, David. I think this bullet could be promote community content or something
right,
like
if that's what we want to do, then I mean, if it wants to be, you know, it could be centralized, you know, community blogs, videos, products, you know, yeah, I mean, well, it could be turned into a goal, but what is the goal, right? What is the goal that we're after?
To shine the light to those ones that are doing the work, you know, products, blogs, workshops. We already do that, but I like the word centralized. And it shouldn't be maybe location. It should be centralized, focus on highlighting blogs, videos, products.
Okay,
you know.
so centralizing for what goal, right? You said, so it sounds like to highlight.
Yes, highlight, shine the light.
So maybe we want to highlight blog.
So I kind of disagree with this goal. I
Okay.
think the end goal for this is the grow MicroProfile adoption. This is all activities. So this is the kind of the implementation details. At the end of the day, we want to make MicroProfile to be successful.
Maybe it's a little too generic.
Maybe make that to be a secondary bullet point, such as I will say grow MicroProfile adoption as one of the marketing goal.
Right, but that's like a yeah, we put down grow MicroProfile adoption and delete everything that's more specific than that, then we're going to have one slide with only one thing on it. So
And how are we going to measure the adoption? What is adoption? So if you say indeed central location for promoting those community content, that's more specific than just grow adoption.
+1, Rudy. It's good to
So-
hear you.
So
and I thought
was,
I thought your jug comment on the previous slide was okay. So I thought that was a good goal, right? And it went along the lines of what I'm describing, which is it didn't say how we're going to reach out to jugs. It just said it's something that we should do. But anyway, and I simply mentioned that just so you had a friend in the room on that comment, because you know, I do think we can be specific with the goals, but we just need to be careful that we're not too talking about like how we're going to do them.
so I would add a bracket to say increase the adoption. So we know like this specific is for that goal.
All right, but would you want us to put that on all the bullets?
I think it's kind of I think the third and the fourth is kind of interconnected, promote use cases and also the promote blogs, videos.
So let me throw someone here under the bus. Summers, you belong to one of the coolest JAGs in the United States, the Atlanta JAG. What do you think about this?
What do you mean? I mean, what specifically do you mean? What do I think about
With
this?
the information that we are right now talking on the marketing side with centralized location for promoting products, blogs, videos, members, right? Everything. We need to promote everything that matters to us. That means members, that means, you know, highlight this specific. What do you think about this?
So one of the problems that I've been kind of rolling through my head as this conversation's been going is how do we turn this into something that can help? Like, what people are we helping and how do we reach those people and enable that? So it's, you know, my thoughts right now are kind of tangential to the question y'all are having right now. As far as AJUG goes, I don't have a good answer. I'm still thinking, you know.
That's fine.
So here's what I'm thinking. Let's move on to technical goals. I just think we're too much.
Well, let me try to give some feedback. So maybe I'm a little bit biased because I work for a vendor, I run a Java user group, and I run a conference, and I was working on MicroProfile even before all of this as well. But the feedback that I'm getting from my Java user group, and this is another discussion that we should probably have, which I was thinking that I'm not exactly sure is defining the goals without having some kind of proper retrospective on how the last year went through is actually the right thing to do. But the perception that I'm getting from my user group members is that MicroProfile is losing value. And it's losing value because we see, for instance, MicroProfile config is moving to Jakarta, REST client is moving to Jakarta, open tracing is abandoned, so is going away. Metric is also going away. So what's left is like 4 useful specs right now. And this is something that we have to realize and fight. So we cannot just say let's try to go and get more adoption when the perspective and the perception of the community is that MicroProfile losing value, especially when they're seeing things like specs that are being with us from the first few versions moving to Jakarta, and then even other initiatives like gRPC that should definitely go to MicroProfile. That's already said that Jakarta wants to do that, and other things like that we discussed like converters. Jakarta also said it wants to do that. So what's left of MicroProfile?
Yeah, I mean, this is a big concern I've had for a while as well.
Me too.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I was going to bring up in the technical goal, and we really
Yeah,
need
so
to innovate. And at the
so
moment,
let's
I
move
don't
forward to
see-
technical goals.
Yes,
Emily,
let's do that. Yeah, and Roberto, you said it beautifully.
Yeah, we only have 6 minutes left, by the way.
I know. Okay, so
I mean, it's probably
right,
going to be
so-
next call that we.
yeah, that's true. And Emily, I apologize for cutting you. Go ahead and finish your comment.
No, that's fine. I think you come to the right place.
Yeah, I was just trying to, get us straight to the slide. But I think David's right in that we're not gonna finish this slide in 5 minutes. So an ask that I have is that we continue the marketing actually no, where did I go? Community outreach goals offline between now and next meeting. And next meeting, which is going to be a regular live hangout, right? Again, let's do our best to see if we can finish this off. Otherwise, we're gonna have to take another. Let's see how many we got. We got two more meetings before.
Yeah.
We have to have this done.
We have the deadline is what, John? Let's just say that it's November.
It's the 6th.
The 6th. That is a Saturday.
So we have. Do you have the calendar open? Do we have 2 or 3 more meetings?
Two. We have 2.
Right. And I think in 2 weeks we would want to have a vote.
We can make it a 72-hour vote.
Yeah, we could do the vote online. So we could have 2 more calls and then do a vote online to approve before November 6th, assuming it passes.
So between this call and next call, and at the moment, like for the technical goal, I don't think we just go through, visit each and say, oh, that's been done, that's not done, and that's not going to happen. And then eventually delete most of the things. I think we also need to brainstorm which area we want to focus on. I mean, when we want to deliver this, where do we want to grow? And as Roberto said, okay, gRPC is not going to happen, converter probably not happen. What are we going to?
No, I wouldn't. I don't know if we have to use the words "probably not happen." I think it's the conversation needs to be had.
So basically, I would like to see. I mean, what other new things we want to bring in to MicroProfile?
Areas that are ready for, some level of innovation.
Yeah,
innovation.
Innovation, but I mean, first need to think maybe of what is needed today that we don't have, because I don't think we should have just that we don't need to add something just for the purpose of adding something to have more specs, but it should also be useful and should be.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah, that's
some.
Rudy, you nailed it.
Is basically I'm trying to say the innovation is a kind of how can help with cloud native development. So it's kind of obviously we don't want to just invent an airplane or something like that.
All right, so let's do some brainstorming and some offline communication for next week. Comment on the slides or in the chat group, right? Where did we agree to do this at? Were we going to have this in the working group?
No,
mailing list, or we're going to do it in the.
Can we do it in the community forum, please? And I was going to recommend it.
Okay.
The community is fine. We have gotten the feedback that not many are subscribed to that mailing list and missing out some messages from especially these conversations. So if we are able to send a quick update to say, this is the updated presentation for 2022 program plan to the community and say, we will continue the discussion next week on this call, full hour. Can we do that?
We know that Jan does not follow the Google group. He is only on the work group mailing list.
Yeah, but I was talking also about other microprofilers in addition to him.
So there may be others that don't follow it as well.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's a few hundred people on that Google group and it's been there for 5 years. So
The Google
I
group.
mean, we can cross post to both. I'm totally fine with that. But we
There's
can't-
61 people on the MicroProfile workgroup mailing list.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then
But as I mentioned, the
Yeah.
the other one's been there for 5 years and it's like a couple hundred people on it. So
1,000,
I got it.
1,100?
1,000
is it up above 1,000?
1,200 and something else.
Yeah.
So it's
anyway,
fantastic.
we can
So-
post to the other list as well. I just want to make sure we don't ignore the list with 1,000 people on it if we're looking for
Correct.
feedback.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can I just clarify something? When we post, I know last year, like David, you create a Google Doc. So ask people to comment and brainstorm. Are we going to do the same thing?
Yeah, we should do that.
Might be a little too
Worked
late for
pretty
that.
well.
Yeah, I think it's too late for that. We have to have an answer in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
We got to have a program plan in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think I was biased on that one. I said, we don't need to create a document. Let's just copy paste the 2021 and move forward. I figured that we will do a little bit of brainstorming and just bring stuff, but maybe
Yeah.
for the technical side, we could do that document.
We probably should still collect feedback from people specifically on technical issues they'd like us
Yeah.
to solve.
That is my recommendation.
And maybe that's something we write down as a goal. But yeah, it's too late to do it for the plan itself, but we could write items in the plan to say that we still need to do it.
Yeah, I think I think is just a focus on technical goals would be fine to basically collect feedback from community. This is kind of which area do you think MicroProfile is lacking?
Mhm.
The technical.
Or like what problems do you have that aren't getting solved?
Yeah.
Where
So
you want some degree of portability, right? So
Yeah.
let's, we're past the top of the hour. Sorry, I'm kind of run off, but it's kind of where we're at. So who took the AI to post something in the group about the technical goals and what they want to see?
I can do that. I will create a.
Okay.
Emily, and when you create a document, please do so in the community drive, not external, please. Do it in the
I
community.
will do.
Thank you so much. Let's go.
Okay.
We're done.
All right. And then let's all communicate on the overall deck, I guess, in the working group and
Community forum.
community forums. Okay. All right. See everyone. Live hangout next week. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Bye, everyone.
Week.
All right.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.